Morning everyone, welcome to Veterans in Crisis podcast. Today we have Major Kelly Bennet. It's took us nearly 2 days to get this sorted because of technical problems, so after finishing at 10:15 last night without it working, we decided to start again this morning at 9 o'clock. Welcome, Kelly.
Is that because I'm an officer? Is that because I'm an officer?
It is, yes, it is.
Yeah.
Nobody else has had them problems. How are you doing? All right?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, so obviously I asked you on because, well, I know you anyway. However, I wanted you to explain like how sort of being a reservist has kind of like changed your whole life, you know, your mindset and everything. Because I mean, when I first met you years and years ago, you weren't a reservist. You worked in the hospital, and then I remember when you first took it up, you know. And then over the years, we've spoke about things, and we were on a Zoom call the other day when every GP surgery in Sunderland collectively signed the Armed Forces Covenant, which is the first time that's ever happened anywhere before. And that's why I thought I'd ask you to come on. I mean, I was a bit cheeky by asking you to come on in front of everyone. So you couldn't say no then, could you?
All right. I don't mind promoting the cause.
Good. So if we start off a little bit about your work. Obviously you work at the hospital.
Yeah.
How's that been at the moment?
Busy. It's getting busy because it's business as normal. So where in the first wave we only tended to deal with COVID patients, now we're dealing with typical winter pressures.
Aye.
So it's very challenging at the minute for bed staff and the usual busyness of a winter period.
And is that going to not implement? Is that going to sort of stop you doing your reservist stuff with the COVID being on?
Yeah, we've reverted back to Zoom training, which we did in the first wave. Everything was by Zoom. We even do PT on Zoom.
Yeah, in your kitchen.
Yeah, or in the garden or anywhere. And then after the first wave, we sort of went back into social distance. So very good. They measured everything out in the unit, made sure you could keep your distance, sanitizer available, and to do face-to-face training, which was really good to get people back in. Very good for your peer-to-peer support, because obviously a lot of sort of reservists are single or live alone, and they don't have that opportunity when they get home to offload what's been like at work. It's crap and stuff. So getting back into the unit was good support for getting back with your peers. They might work in a different trust, but you could offload a little bit. As we've gone into the second wave again, unfortunately, we've had to revert back to Zoom. And we're doing our training, we're doing clinical training online, presentations back to the PT, where I think we've got plans to sort of have sessions where it's just an open forum and you can just get on and just have a bit crack, rather than being a more formal training.
Had you ever heard of Zoom before this happened?
No, and I was rubbish, as you know, last night.
Yes, I do know. Last night, all day yesterday, so it started at 2 o'clock, and at 10:15 I was still sitting there.
Yeah, I've held conversations on mute before. I was at an award ceremony, which I don't know if you know about. I got awarded the Lord Lieutenant's certificate.
Oh, brilliant! Tell us a little bit about that then.
Well, that's it's an annual. It's Her Majesty's Lord Lieutenant certificate, and I believe when I googled it, it's one of the highest sort of awards outside of the Queen's Honours.
Wow, man!
And it's for your meticulous service to your reserve career. So I don't think I'm doing anything special. I just do my job. But yeah, I was nominated for that, and I was successful. And that should have been taking place, a big ceremony in April. But obviously because of lockdown, they postponed it, and that was a virtual ceremony a couple of weeks ago, where I had to sit in my number twos in the kitchen with, yes, I did have me tight to my skirt on at the bottom, yeah.
I see. I'm sure you just wear your pyjamas, like.
Not my pyjama bottoms, no. So I had to sit in the kitchen with me certificate like that. I was ill. I thought I was going to cut myself off. I was I was terrified to touch my phone in case something happened, but it went well.
It's a good job that you never had the same problems that you've had coming on this podcast, isn't it?
Yeah, I know it would have been. That would have been embarrassing.
Yeah, but it's a massive honour, that, man. You should be really proud. Have you not got? You should have brought it, man, and showed us.
Oh, it's upstairs. I get it.
Get on, then. Get on. I'll just kill this dead time by chatting to myself. So this was a little bit like what happened last night, to be quite honest. I was sat in front of my laptop for about 2 hours waiting for Kelly to come on, and she didn't come on. Yeah, she's back.
Well, actually, I got a picture of me with the picture.
Brilliant. See? It's excellent, that, man.
See it.
Excellent, aye? Really, really good. You should be really proud.
On the back of that. Yeah, well, I am. That's why it's in the frame upstairs in the loo.
In the loo.
The work, they're doing a press release, so I don't know if that's going to be in the Echo or whatever, but...
Well, it should be.
Because obviously Sunderland, as you probably know, they got the Gold Award for the Covenant and Employee Engagement, so they're very supportive as a trust. My chief exec came online for the ceremony, so they're right behind reserves and veterans, and yeah, they're really good. So
they've been brilliant to me since I started. The CCG and the GP Alliance have been excellent with me, you know, and we got silver just on. Well, I think we get it on next week online again. We've already got the certificate and stuff. But we'll be going for gold next year because we're on the Sunderland partnership with the university, the council, and everything, and they've got gold, so we'll be going for gold next year. It's quite difficult to get, but you know,
I've been in the reserves for like 15 years, and there wasn't anything like this then when I started. And Sunderland's always had a big cohort of reserves anyway, as you know, Ben Banerjee. There's a couple of matrons in, and they've always had a big cohort for 201. So bringing something like this in, it's good to recognise that employees are really supportive.
Yeah.
Because when you get talking to other people, even working for different trusts, I've always getting 2 weeks special leave for my training. Other trusts were only getting 1 week, or they were finding it difficult to get the time off and stuff, where, you know, I just go in and I want that off, and they're fully supportive of everything I do.
That's a great thing about Sunderland as a whole. How they support veterans and the armed forces. I think it's a brilliant thing. That's why we have the biggest parade outside of London.
I know.
It's great. Yeah, so what made you join the reservists?
Well, as you know, I had kids when I was young, and I'd getting a job with the transport department in the hospital, and that fit in with the school I was. I found myself a single parent, and it was sort of like, what do I need to do? So I thought, I'll be a nurse. No nursing in the family or anything, military or anything. So I got seconded from the trust to do my training, so they paid me like a full-time wage to go and do my training. I qualified as a nurse, and then I was just watching TV, and there was adverts for join the army, and I thought, I could do that. So I don't know if I rang or I applied online, and I got somebody in touch from York, and they wanted us to go down to York for an interview. So I thought, all right, fine. Drove down on a Saturday morning, I broke down in the car. So I had to cancel. Nothing goes smooth for me.
It doesn't, does it? It doesn't at all.
So I had to cancel that, and I thought, right. But a week later, I get a phone call from the PASO from 201, who said, I hear you've been trying to... They must have obviously got him to link in with us. Do you want to come down to have a look around? So I thought, right, okay. So I took my friend, as you do, had a look around. I thought, oh my God, this is like a youth club. Oh, what am I doing? What am I doing? Because, I mean, by that time I was 40. It's not like I was a bit young chick. So I had a look around. He tried to get my friend to sign up as a chef, and she was like, I don't know. And I come away, he says, go away, think about it. And I thought, what am I doing? What am I doing? But anyway, I went ahead and I signed up, and it was the best thing I've ever done. So it was just something I plucked out the air. I went, I could do that. Didn't have a clue what it would involve. There's a number of times in the beginning, especially recruit training, I could have just sacked it there and then, because I was the oldest. I was the only nurse. It was at Grantham Logistics. I cried when I touched the weapon because I was scared. I was just a wreck. I was frightened of getting wrong all the time, or getting beasted, or press-ups and all that. It was a nightmare. But I persevered, and here I am.
You're not the only person in the world that feel like that when you do training, man. Yeah, everything you described there, that's just a normal thought for everyone, I would imagine. I went through
I couldn't get over the fact, because obviously with us being older, there was only maybe one or two that was round about my age. The rest were young folk. And the DS staff would be like, Bennett, get over here, Bennett. And I used to be, I've got a first name. I'm not used to somebody calling us by my second name. So that was a shock, total shock to the system. But yeah.
So how did you manage to go straight into being an officer then?
Well, when I joined, there was a couple. You can go straight in as a PQO, like as a professionally qualified officer, so you can go straight down that route, or you join as a soldier. And at that time, because medical units are quite top heavy, because you have the professionally qualified people, the nurses, doctors, physios, etc. So they said, at the time, they said, we want to recruit more soldiers. So, right, fine. So I came in as a private. And once I'd done all my recruit training, I automatically, because I was a qualified nurse, became a corporal. And then you're a corporal for 2 years, where you needed to be qualified for 2 years, and then you would be eligible for commissioning. I joined at quite a good time, where I joined in 2005 and we were deploying in 2007. So that 2 year was your training, specific training for deployment. So I just got stuck in straight away on the hospexes and things, and obviously got good reports and recommended to be commissioned. So when I came just before the year of 2007, they put us for commissioning, and I passed all the boards for that, and I managed to go to Afghanistan as a lieutenant. Brilliant. So the time was quite good. Sorry?
I remember when you first went.
The timing was really good. And I think it was, I managed to do it quickly because of I used all my leave up to do my training. I'd done back-to-back training. I'd done like 2 weeks at Strensel. I didn't know I didn't have to do that because I'd already done my recruits 2 years previously. But anyway, I went and done that. I was back at work a week, and then I took another 2 weeks to go to Sandhurst. So I just wanted to do it while it was all fresh, whereas some people might wait a year, obviously because of the leave. But I used my personal leave for that. So that's how I was able to do it quite quickly. And like I say, go through as a lieutenant.
What was your experience like at Sandhurst?
Yeah, I loved it. It was mint. I just thought this should be a holiday. I would pay to do this. It was tough. It was very tiring, mentally tiring. I think like the first week, like any training, it's your build up for the first week. So you're building up to your ultimate, like your exercise. So there's a lot of classroom stuff. You were falling asleep, long days, lots of doctrine. And then you built up for your exercise, and the exercise was mint. That was like nothing to what, people go and deploying in the field properly. But like for training, like it was 48 hours in the field. But it was all scenarios, and you were sort of more or less left to get on with it. So you're put in little sections, and then you were lived in this compound, and you were sent out. You went out on patrol, and then you didn't know what was going to hit you. So you might get ambushed, you might come across some locals kicking off. So you just had to act accordingly, and it was just the adrenaline was just amazing, scary stuff. But you just cracked on. And when I was saying I used to cry with the weapon handling on my recruit training, because it was drilled into you how the safety aspect, and I used to be terrified, break out my sweat when I touched the weapon. When I got to Sandhurst, you were like sort of changing your mags as you were running and stuff. So your confidence was just like, it was mint. I really enjoyed it.
Brilliant. So
I do like the field stuff. I do like the field stuff as well. Because I nurse anyway, so when we get to do the outdoor stuff, I love the running around in the green. And
yeah, I mean, I joined the infantry, and that was exactly what I wanted to do. I didn't want to do anything else. You know, that was what about being a soldier was exactly what I wanted to do. You know, I hated the marching and the polishing and all that sort of shit. I hated that. Like when I was in Ireland, I loved it. But then when I went to Berlin, which you would think you wouldn't like Ireland, and then you would love Berlin, it was the opposite for me. I hated Berlin. The nightlife and that was great, but having your kids, that was horrible. Not for me at all.
I think, is that not because you're doing what you're being trained to do? So even though it's hard, so Ireland, you're doing exactly what.
Well, that's what you join for, you know, to be a soldier. So you join that, and then to be a soldier, marching around and stuff like that, and standing on guard, and that's not. That's what I joined for. So, what was your first tour like then? Obviously, it would have been scary.
Oh, I loved it. I felt like I was on holiday.
Fucking hell, man.
I loved it. I think because everything was so new and no military experience in that. We'd done the hospics down in AMSTC, where they set up a sort of hospital complex within a hangar, and it's always set out to what would be on the ground as a field hospital. So going from that and then going over to Bastion, and it was tents, was like, and I love camping anyway, I love tents. So I was like, this is awesome. And it was just, we done our job. We weren't particularly that busy. We went sort of the October over the Christmas. So in the winter, they tend to sort of regroup and, you know, it's a bit quieter. But amazing experience. And what I can imagine what your old hospitals were like, your little cottage hospitals, and then you move to a big hospital like Sunderland and becomes a big organisation and a little bit impersonal, which is what I found on my second tour, because that was a purpose-built hospital, bigger. When we were in the tentage, it was 201 with augmentees. We were running the show, whereas when we went in 2012, we were part of the bigger picture. So there was other Americans were there running things. So just totally different experiences. But I love the proper mash. It was mint.
So, other than going to war or going on tour, what else have you done in the Air Reservist?
Well, since I joined, when I got my recruit training out the way, I went on the AMS do a ski sort of ski foundation courses every year. So I started skiing. I'd skied when I was at school when I was 12 once, and I'd never skied again. And I skied and went through all the courses every year. So now I'm a military ski instructor.
Oh wow! See?
So I get to ski every year. It's all cancelled this year because of COVID. But I take beginners, so I ski every year. I can get 2-3 weeks out of that. I've ski raced the AMS, so I do some racing as well. Trekked, we've done trekking all over the world. Morocco, trekked in Morocco, Romania. We've had camp in America, been all over the world really when I think about it. And I'm a mountain bike leader as well, which I've done that as a civilian course. Weekend, the army paid for it, and now I've had just secured, just before lockdown, I got a grant off the army to buy new mountain bikes, so I've got new mountain bikes. We used them on camp, but then obviously lockdown we haven't been able to use them, but I've got them sitting there where I can organise a weekend and lead people mountain biking. So
it just shows, doesn't it, man? You went from not really knowing about reservists, seeing an advert on the telly, and like the way it's changed your life.
Yeah, and the thing is, the good thing about it is, And it's like, well, I sort of like when new recruits coming in, it's give and take. It's, you know, you get rewarded. So I've always been involved in sort of like helping with the nurse training, put myself out there a little bit, as in, you know, I do any employee engagement. I love promoting the army. I love promoting work. I've done recruiting events. So just little things like that. And then your reward is, you know, I want to do this trip, AT trip. Now, a lot of people think I'm just like, oh, I'm just AT guru. And as if it's a bit of fun. Well, actually, it is fun, but it's bloody hard as well. And it's hard for a reason, because your AT is to develop your sort of your leadership skills, pushing you out your comfort zone, and it is scary stuff. And for all the trips I've done, might sound glamorous. Oh, Mount Toukable, trekking with the Moroccan army. Yeah, but I'm scared of heights, and I couldn't do the scrambling, and I was snotting and tears and stuff like so. And then you come out the other end and you think, oh, that was mint, even though at the time you're sort of like bricking it and thinking, what the hell? Because I get to a point where I was stuck up a mountain in Romania and I couldn't cross this ridge, and I just froze, and I was just quivering wreck, thinking, what on earth am I doing here up this mountain? And this colonel had shouted there, just leave it, and get on with it. And I was like, oh, he says it's character building, and I was like quivering, going, I'm 50-odd-year-old Nana with grandchildren. I've got a character, thank you very much. Sitting on the top of this ridge where I had to move, do you know what I mean? But and then I laugh about it now, but at the time I was like, I hate you guts. And
You know what I'm laughing about is when you just dropped in like, I was stuck up this mountain in Romania, just in the conversation. You know what I mean? You went from Morocco and then I was just stuck in a mountain in Romania. Yeah. I mean, it's an amazing story, because obviously people don't know that we've knew each other for years anyway. And like, I've seen you, the way you've changed. It's amazing. It is. I'm really proud of you, like, to be honest.
Oh, thank you.
So, right.
I think, I mean, people think, I definitely built me confidence. Absolutely. It's made us sort of speak up, which sometimes gets us into trouble at work. But I see it as it is, and I'm very, and my job at the hospital, there's me and a colleague on overnight. We're in charge of the hospital. So staffing, any problems, fires, anything, we're the most senior person. We do have a manager on call, that's, you know, by phone, but a lot of decisions we make, and I find people quite critical of your decisions, and they can be, oh, you should have done this. Well, actually, tell me what I could have done better. Don't just criticise me, you know, my decision. And I'm quite, and what I think I've gotten from the army is I'm quite confident in my decision making. So I can fight a good cause. So, and I think sometimes I have to say to people, right, well, tell us, and they have to shut up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think that's all come from the army.
I think that is definitely from the army, because I think when you can make decisions, and if it's wrong, it's wrong, but somebody else isn't making the decision at the time. You know, somebody's got to be the one to stand up, make the decision. If it's wrong, you just learn from your mistakes, and I think that, and that's definitely a military thing. I would definitely say that. Like, I mean, I make mistakes all the time, you know, but I'm prepared to be the one who says to do it.
Yeah. And the thing is as well, it's being able to say, oh, yeah, I might have made a boo-boo that time.
Yeah.
But when you're there at the time. So I think, like, as a young being younger and having the kids, I think I just thought, oh, that's me. I'm just, you know, I worked in a restaurant for years. This is just going to be me. And I think I probably was quietish. People think now I'm like really, really confident. Actually, I am on some aspects. I am. If it's the military stuff, yes. But then other things, I always feel like, have you heard of the imposter syndrome?
Yeah, of course, of course.
And I get that a lot, and people go, really? And I think, yeah, I do, because if I get up and I've got to speak about something, I get the nerves. I feel like people at work think I'm better than I am, and I'm going to be found out and stuff. Do you know? It's funny. Something from that.
That's just normal human emotions that most people will feel exactly the same. You know, sometimes, and I think it's a good thing to have as well. Because if you think you're right all the time, and you think everything you say, you become arrogant, won't you? So it's best to have that little grounding thing. Nah, people in here ground me all the time, you know. But that's military banter, you know. Like we say things that you wouldn't say in normal civilian life. So everybody who's in here or works here is ex-military, so you can say stuff that you wouldn't get away with, you know. So and like I said, not everyone's gonna get every decision right. It's impossible, isn't it? Do you want to get anything out before we finish? Do you want to try and tell anybody to join your reservists or where they would find out there?
We do need ICCU staff, nurses, ED nurses, but particularly like ICCU theatre staff. I know it's a difficult time at the minute, and it's trying to balance, you know, in a global pandemic, your work, you sort of your personal life. Do you want something extra? Well, the reserves, I've promoted alongside promoting in the reserves in my civvy job, which I might not have done. I've got you take skills backwards, transfer backwards and forwards. We do a lot of sort of clinical training, what you can take back into your workplace. All your military sort of leadership stuff is invaluable. It gives you a different mindset and way of thinking, you know, doing your combat estimate kind of thing. Your problem solving improves, and vice versa. You can come from the trust and you can come and deliver your skills. So it's a really nice way of, it's a second job, and it's classed as a second job, but it's actually, it is more youth club, meeting your friends, you make long-term friends out of it. You know, you go with like-minded people, so there isn't that, you know, when you're at work sometimes there may be a bit of bitchiness and you know, resentful of people being promoted. You don't get that in your reserve or your military life, because you're a little family and you're there for the same reasons, so you support each other. And a big thing being on tour is we didn't have the politics like you have back at work. And I used to say Sunderland is more of a war zone than being in Helmand, because it was a different mindset. You're all singing from the same song sheet, and I think sometimes, you know, back in the NHS, people are isolated to their agenda, and that's all they sort of see. So I think it's just having an awareness and learning and being part of a family like that, where there's people who you can just give. I rang a girl last night who, I don't work with her, I see her, and we've been in lockdown, so I've never seen her, but I was able to ring her up. We've had a bit of a crack, I've had a bit of a whinge about, you know, your work, offload a little bit, things like that. So you've sort of extended your network, your support group, really, with people who know exactly what you're going through.
I think that is the peer support element of care. I think it's the best way, like, because there's no
and as a reward, if you come join as a nurse, then you get to do your field stuff. We've ran the Great North Run, we've done catering romp, whatever you fancy doing, what you do in your civvy life, running or playing golf or whatever, or you want to take up a new sport, you've got the opportunity in the army, and you get paid for it. So you get paid to do these courses, to go away and have fun, and then you can deliver. So there's always that sort of like payback, reward kind of thing. So it's very, very rewarding, which you don't get in your civvy job. You don't get such a reward.
Would you have a link or anything that we can put on the podcast for people to have a look at how to become a reservist, or do I have to find that?
Well, I think if you just go on Army, on just Google, and then you get everything on, like, I don't know if it's Army Net or, but there's the thing is now joining, I think people have found it a little bit difficult because of the way that you join. When I joined, I went to the unit, I had my medical at the unit. I think like everything else in life, things are sort of privatised and they have different companies. Now you recruit through an online system.
The Capita.
Yeah, so that's had its problems. People waiting a long time for any response, waiting a long time to get the medicals.
I've heard it's described as Capita.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say. But lucky for me, I mean, I know we lost a nurse because she waited that long, and she was like, "Oh, I can't be arsed now."
Yeah.
Personally, I think if you wanted to join, you would have joined, regardless. But you don't know how many people that you lose by that. But if anybody sort of wants to link with me, just for a chat, or I can take the unit once we're up and running, they can join our Zoom training, clinical training, which is what I'm going to do when I go to work. I'm going to ask people want to, join.
Excellent.
Our
What I'll
Zoom
do, I'll
session.
tell our clients and stuff about it as well. But anybody who's watching this, hopefully they'll get in touch. And thank you very much for coming on.
No problem.
And then will you, when hopefully sometime ever in the future when COVID's finished, do you want to come in and do a longer podcast in the proper studio?
Yeah.
And then you don't have to use Zoom, so it'll be
Yeah,
easy for you. And it'll not take us like 2 days to get you sorted.
Yeah, but I'm an officer, so I might not be able to navigate myself there. I might get
I'll come and
lost.
pick you up.
Right, right, okay.
Right, cheers, Kelly, man.
Okay, right,
Thanks
cheers,
a
thank
lot,
you.
man. Cheers, bye.